Welcome to Born for the Trades, a home service podcast. And I'm your host, Mandeep Bala, sitting virtually next to Shreya, my co-host.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
And we have our guest right there sitting with Shreya. So today is a special episode. Today's guest is an amazing person. His name is Mike Prencavage, and he's the owner of Family Plumber and previously served as president of PHCC Orange County and has helped grow local memberships by over 153% in his time services plumbing community. He is an influence for young generations to find interest in becoming plumbing trade professionals. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mandeep. I appreciate it. Now I can retire off that introduction. I can definitely retire.
Join us as we dive deep into the world of home service entrepreneurship, interacting with industry leaders, coaches, and entrepreneurs about their experiences, challenges, and victories. Through their inspiring stories, we hope to equip our listeners with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed in the competitive home service industry. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, tune in to Born for the Trades podcast for invaluable insight and real-world inspiration.
It's good to see you in person over the weekend here in Tampa. I know you guys are there at Pantheon in Orlando. How is the vibe? How is the event going on? Let's start with that.
Oh man, it's going. It's bigger than last year for sure. I mean, I went to the one in LA, and I want to say the scale is just immense. The speakers, they have amazing speakers this year, and I was definitely impressed with that. And the topics are very straight to the point, which I appreciate. I don't like a lot of the fluff that comes with a lot of these conferences and that sort of thing. So this was very specific, and it's going pretty well. What do you think?
I would agree. Exactly what you said. Like no fluff. Just the processes, give me the value right now, sort of thing.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know I'm missing this event so badly, but yes, I had to be here in Tampa, but next year for sure.
I know it's only an hour drive away, right? 1 hour?
Just 1 hour, 1 hour drive. But next year, for sure, I'm not going to miss this one. So Mike, let's start with your journey. Tell us some of your backstory, how you found your passion in the trades and followed in your father's footsteps of leading the Family Plumber and your community to, success. So you want to share that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just talking to a friend of mine here at Pantheon, and he was asking me the same question. And I've been in plumbing industry for a little over 14 years now. I started way back in high school. I was working with my father, doing all the day labor type stuff underneath houses, digging trenches. I've been around to clean out a time or two. So I've been in plumbing for quite a while. I didn't think that plumbing was going to be the avenue that I went down. I graduated high school. I did end up going to college. I got a business management degree, and I actually started working with Toyota Motor Corp for a brief period of time. And during that experience, I relocated. I moved out to Boston. I'm originally from Southern California.
Nice.
Moved out to Boston, for a few years. That was an experience, that's for sure. And it opened up my eyes to not only a different side of the United States and, weather and all that stuff, that I appreciated being in SoCal, but also working with Toyota Motor Corp, I found there was a lot of inconsistencies with the automotive business. And I felt like it was, at times a little deceiving, to the customer. And I'm a very honest person, and I felt like I was being dishonest every day I walked into work. Not saying that the auto industry is completely bad, but it didn't appeal to me. So
is that a coincidence? Shreya was in auto industry too, right, Shreya?
Oh yeah. I don't know. It was total coincidence. I know Shreya's background, but
we've connected over this before because I have the same. That's why I went into the trades, is because I did have such a bad experience with the lack of ethics that I had to experience, and feeling dishonest and feeling like I'm doing something dirty when it shouldn't have been that way. And the trades were it was like the opposite experience, where technicians and people in the trades have a very strong moral code and are very connected as their own society. So I definitely relate to that.
If you could put a percentage on it, I would say probably 90 to 95% of the plumbing and HVAC trade individuals are the most trustworthy, wholesome people that you've ever met in your entire life. And I think that was something that drew me back to the industry. Coming back from Boston was I wanted to get re-involved. I actually didn't think I was going to get as involved as to take over my father's company, but
Right.
one thing led to the next, and yeah, I'm here now. But the process was I moved back from Boston to California, and my father was ready for retirement. He was ready to kind of let things go, but he didn't want to just sell out. If he did, he was going to sell out to a good person and or a family member. So here comes his oldest son. And I come in about 10 years ago, and I decided to offer him a little package deal to retire, and he took it. So, and from there, we at the time we had only a couple trucks. It was just my father running it, but he had been in business for about 28 years to that point.
Okay.
When I took over, and then from there we've scaled and grew, excuse me, and we're currently running 22 trucks. We're still in the same location.
Wow.
In Los Angeles.
Two trucks to 22 in how many years?
So it's been, I always say 10 years, but I think realistically it's been about 9.5. So let's say 10 years.
That's amazing. Amazing growth.
Yeah. And it's been great. It's been great. Yeah.
What transitioned you from, owning the business and growing that to participating in PHCC in the community?
Yeah. So actually one of the first things I ever did, when I took over the company was join PHCC. And I did it because PHCC offered a trade school, nearby in Orange County. There's a couple of trade schools throughout LA, Orange County, but I specifically honed in on the Orange County location. And I felt like training with my guys was so important because up until that point, my father and myself as well, we were only training our guys in the truck, and that's great, but they're not getting the code knowledge. They're not seeing the back end, real systems overview. And systems is key in plumbing. If you know systems, you can basically look through walls. So that was very important that the trade school was one of those first things that I implemented, and PHCC was that avenue. They had other programs, trade school programs like WyoTech or ITT Tech, but none of them were as extensive as PHCC. So went all in on PHCC. Then from there, it just snowballed into, hey, would you like to get more involved? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. So got more involved in Orange County, our local chapter. Actually served all of the director positions. So started out as a regular director on the board, served on the board for about 3 years, became secretary, then treasurer, then vice president, and then became president ultimately.
Wow.
And I've served as president over the past 3 years. The term technically is only 2 years, but our bylaw committee extended it an additional year because of the growth that we were fortunate to have over my presidency. And they supported me in some of the visions that I had. So it's been a journey. It's been one hell of a journey, that's for sure, but it's fun. It's fun.
With the connection of the growth of your company and participating in PHCC at the same time, how much would you correlate the two, and how can people participate in PHCC to grow their company like you did?
Yeah. So PHCC has this long-standing stigma about it, right? So, and I'll be honest, because I'm one of the very few that are open about this, but a lot of people, when you ask them what is PHCC, like if I were to ask you, can you?
Board of plumbers and stuff.
A board of plumbers.
Yeah.
Okay. So PHCC is much more than, any misconception that's out there. And I've heard them all. Some people don't even answer. They're like, I don't even know what PHCC is. And that's perfectly fine. But what PHCC stands for, and there is a story behind it, is it stands for not only proper training, but best people, best practices. And when I truly mean best people, best practices, is that we're not only doing the training, so the trade school, which I've been heavily invested in, but also government affairs. So when I hear contractors out on job sites or other owners say, oh, I wish, California's government wouldn't do this or do that or anything like that. PHCC advocates on behalf of the contractors. We're the only organization who does that. At least in California. I know in other states they have different organizations, but in California, we're the only association that actually works on behalf of contractors when it comes to government affairs. We not only do that in California, but in all 49 states except for Hawaii. And then we do that nationally. Every year we go to Legislative Day, which is in Washington, D.C. We meet with senators. And with our over 1,400 contractor members, we're able to influence those senators and really take it to the next level when it comes to fighting or advocating against certain things. Right now, it's renewable energies. There's a huge sector right now in California and New York. They're switching over to electricity. The electrification of California and New York as well is a huge process that's happening a little bit too fast because we have legislators that are pushing the agenda. And I would say more so for personal reasons, but we advocate to say, hey, look, we're the contractor. We really want to inform you on what our systems or what contractors can actually do out in the field, because oftentimes it doesn't correlate, directly. So.
Politics.
No,
Plumbing politics, yeah. I've been called a plumbing politician at times. I don't know if it's the glasses, the suit, or anything. But I don't know.
No, that's amazing. And I think, Mike, you just mentioned that you're invested in trade schools too. So how can, for the listeners, those who want to, join PHCC and trade schools, how many trade schools are there? Is that something it's accessible to the entire 49 states, and how many trade schools are there, and how can they get started to learn more in plumbing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And in all 49 states, the only state that does not have an actual brick and mortar trade school is Alaska. And the only reason is because of the remote, ruralness of Alaska. But we do have members up in Anchorage. But overall, the remaining 48 states that are in our membership body each have a trade school in their most metropolitan area. So, for instance, you go to Texas, there's going to be a trade school in Dallas. There's going to be a trade school in Austin, in San Antonio. You come to Southern California, we're going to have a trade school in Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego. And then I hope to actually open up another trade school out in the Inland Empire, like high desert area. So it's constant development, but I would say if you're looking to actually research a trade school, I would go to phcc.org. phcc.org is our national website, and that'll list out all the state websites. And once you move to your local state, you can actually see on most homepages direct where those trade schools are at. And I would start there for sure.
That's amazing.
Your recruitment process based on your involvement in these trade schools?
Yeah, so recruitment, that's actually a great question. Recruitment is always the key term. It's been tossed around here at Pantheon a lot. How do we recruit younger generational, apprentices to come in? How do we keep them engaged? We at PHCC actually host a 4-year program. It's a journeyman license program. So think about that. That's like college on steroids, right? So some of these guys have actually gone to college, and to ask them to come and serve an extra 4 years of trade school training is insane. But we do recruit within. A lot of our members obviously love the training, such as myself, that have brought my employees on. We do have vocational alliances and or collaborations with some other associations, such as ABC. They have a bunch of schools throughout the United States. That's the American Builders Association. And so we do collaborations on that front to try to get the word out there. But really, it's a lot of boots on the ground. So it's people like myself that go out to events and talk about how the trades have influenced myself. We also are working with the organization American Plumber Stories. If you haven't seen their stories on YouTube, it's basically like a docu-series, and they go through how owners became owners, and also their role as apprentice, and then to technician, and then to service manager, all the way through the process. So that's other avenues for that as well.
That's amazing. And now you're serving as board of director of PHCC National Association, right? And so what kind of tools do you think that tradespeople can have access to? I know you mentioned about there is school coaching, and do you think that there are trainings out there related to operations, sales coaching, and marketing? Do you think that all tools are available there?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say PHCC is great on the technical training side of things. We do a lot with government affairs. I would say where we actually don't really have a lot of pull in is I wouldn't call it sales, but the conversion training. So that frontline training is something that PHCC has never, that's not really the premise of what our organization's about. So we do, as contractors, our member contractors are looking for people that actually excel in that frontline training. I just so happen to have one of the most professional people I know in the industry here, with Service MVP, and I respect companies such as Service MVP for what they do, because they truly and honestly are looking not only for the owners, but they're also looking for the customers. A lot of the times, as Shreya has told me a million times, she's like my life coach and stuff. She's told me a million times over, the customer sometimes needs guidance, doesn't know where they're headed, so
100%.
We're more informing rather than selling. And it's a good point. And I always have to catch myself like I did. I don't want to say that we're selling or anything like that, but I think it's very crucial that contractors understand companies like Service MVP. There's others out there as well, Nexstar and things. But understanding that those companies are great for that frontline training. We're great on the back end for the actual service mechanical training, as well as the government affairs. So
that's amazing.
And when you're bringing younger people into the industry, like what kind of strategies do you think would attract younger people, and why do you think that they don't want to go to trade school in the first place?
Yeah, actually, when we're here at Pantheon, I was talking to Ishmael, who we all know with Next Gen and stuff. One of the biggest things that he was able to do, and I'm not going to highlight him, but I respect the fact that he does this, and I do the same exact thing, is respect your employees, build a culture around your employees, and bring them up. And it's all about motivating, but also, creating a sense of comfortability. Nobody likes to say, crap, I have to go into work today, So if you're able to build that culture, the culture will drive more people to your organization. So, and he spoke about that this morning, and I've talked about it as well. I try my best within my organization to do as much as I can to grow our culture. And I think it starts with leadership. I always agree with that. Every speaker I've ever spoken to is like, starts with leadership. I hope I get to that level at some point, but I think we've grown a good thing, and I just want to build on it. So, but that is important. Yeah. That you build a great culture within your company.
That's amazing. And I think you are the example right here. You have grown your company to the next level, and absolutely you have applied leadership and culture. I want to go a little bit deeper into leadership and culture that you have hand to hand applied in your company. You want to share some more insights about that, like how you did that, how you took your dad's company to the next level? For the listeners, I think that's going to be really, really beneficial.
Yeah. So one of my taglines at PHCC, and a lot of the old guys hate it, is old school values with new school mentality.
That's your Instagram. I saw that. Insta, right? Yeah. There you go.
T-shirt ASAP.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, I know Joe puts it on his T-shirts and stuff. That's gonna be my tagline. I'm gonna put it on PHCC gear all the time.
I love that.
Maybe even socks. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, no, it's true. So you have to respect the old school values. I know my father, and this all stems from my father as well. He had true old school values. Those, I would say, have been lost in the newer generation that are coming through, that are first generation owners. Second generation owners that I've spoken to, they get it. They understand, or third generation or fourth generation, that sort of thing. But the first generation owners that are coming in, those hustlers, they have a great mindset. They're coming in, they're saying, hey, I want to start a company from scratch. That's amazing. The only thing I would suggest is just going back to the old school values aspect of it. Don't try to rush yourself into a position in which your company is not doing right to the industry. You always have to remember that the industry is to protect the health and safety of our nation. And we are. I mean, we're the first line of defense for the health and safety of our nation. If you go in thinking that you know it all, and you don't go through the proper steps of doing proper training with your guys and doing the old school methods, which is, grinding it out and getting the right training, it scares me to think some of the companies that might actually, either cause unhealthy, building, specs or things like that. just do it professionally. So the old school values, the new school mentality sets in. These guys are hustlers, and I love it. And that's the one thing that I've really tried to promote within PHCC, because it is an older organization. We're only 120 years old, so so it's a little bit older. But being 120 years old, there's an old school mindset there. I think the mindset needs to change to a new school mindset, to where we understand that these first generation owners, these guys that are starting out, the Ishmaels and you know, the Victor Rancors and everything of the world, they have a progressive mindset on marketing, on frontline training, like we're talking about right now. That is just it's second to none. And I think they need to realize that that is the future. We're talking about here at Pantheon, we're literally talking about AI technology and how it's going to revolutionize the trade industry. We have to be looking for that as well. And PHCC needs to be on the forefront of that if they want to stay alive. So, so hopefully we can, you know, keep pumping these ideas in, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in between, but you know, I represent PHCC first and foremost, and hopefully we can get on that new school mentality. So
that goes directly into the generational issue of people not wanting to come into the trades anymore, is because of that old school mindset of where trades are always known for being very behind in everything. Like 10, 15 years behind in technology and business processes. And now we're having like a period of discovery where we're skyrocketing right to the next level. And that's attracting a lot of young people with these influencers, you know, even on social media, making the trade sexy again or something like that. Stuff like that. I mean, it's good. And I get it. It's marketing to get more people in the trades to serve the community and stuff like that. But respecting your predecessors is extremely important. And I know what that's like. I love the veterans of the industry and respecting them and learning from them, because can you even be innovative without doing that truly, without learning from the people that have done it before you, I guess is the question.
Yeah, history always repeats itself. So that's something they tell you in just generalities. So if you don't know where the industry came from, you don't know where it's headed. So I do agree with that statement 100%. Yeah. And I would say pick and choose. You know, there's a lot of influencers out there that are doing amazing things like the ones we're talking about right now. And I would never call anybody out, obviously, you know, that's not my position, but you know, there are some people out there that are maybe looking for shortcuts, you know, to either promote a certain idea that isn't the best for somebody that is in a new school mindset, that has every opportunity to grow their company, and they rely on this one influence or something like that. You know, listen to a bunch of people, and that's what I found works best. Don't just listen to one. Listen to them all. You'll find really quickly. I don't have to tell you who they are, but you'll find really quickly who the right ones are, who are the maybe not so right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we touched base a lot on, like, you know, mindset and the old generation and new generation. I think we talked like when we met in person. I wanted to ask you one more thing. With the new generation, like, what kind of, like, you know, mindset do you see? Do you see aggressive or strategic or both in the new generation?
Yeah, I see it as aggressive. These guys are, I mean, even my employees, who I love to death, they're very aggressive. They want to grow. They're hustlers. That term hustler has been thrown around a lot, you know, not just this conference, but other ones I've been to. And I think it's great. First and foremost, I think that's amazing, because it just comes down to you running the organization so that you can actually manage that hustle and control it in a good way and bring your whole company up. But hustle is definitely the term that I would label the new generation as. They're willing to work hard. I hate it when I hear, and I don't know if you've had anybody on here before that says, oh, you know, the younger generation doesn't want to work. I call BS. They want to work.
They want to work. They want to work.
And they want to work, but they want to be compensated well, and they want to feel like they're appreciated. And I don't see anything wrong with that, to be honest. And a lot of the old school guys, you know, will chit chat and say, oh, you know, oh, you just need to a pat on the back or something like that.
Hmm.
It's not that way. It goes so much farther by just saying, hey, dude, you did an amazing job on that clean out install. Or, hey, I saw that picture in Service Titan of that water heater you installed yesterday. Perfect. Everything was up to code. Everything looked clean. Your pipes were, everything was soldered straight, clean joints, all that stuff. Like those little things go a long way. And yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah, it's
That's no, I
definitely
think no, I think I agree. I agree to that, and that's definitely we are seeing in the new generation. Since you are at Pantheon, that's like event by Service Titan. So, what are the new since you are staying up to date with everything? What are the new advancements like AI or maybe new features in Service Titan that you are seeing that is going to be really impactful for the plumbing and other trades? So, what exactly you are seeing in the new advancements?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to see what Shreya has to say on this. I'll start and I'll
All
say,
right. Shreya
oh,
should start.
well, Shreya,
Shreya
you
should.
first. You first.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
All right. Anyway, I'm seeing obviously on AI. AI is a big item. I
Mhm.
would say Service Titan has. I was in a meeting earlier where they've devoted. They said close to $50 million in R&D for AI development.
Wow.
So that's strictly software development. Where that's going to land, I don't think they've really isolated it yet because they're spreading it across their service platform.
Mhm.
So AI could show a little bit more on the dispatching side. I know dispatching for sure, which is one thing. Customer interaction, the follow up calls afterwards, either the interaction before or after a service visit call. AI may actually help with that as well. So they're in the development process right now of creating those systems. But AI is going to be a huge topic. I would say they're saying, well, next year we're going to talk more about it. I think within the next few months, you're going to see a lot of press releases from
Mhm.
not only Service Titan, but all the media outlets, Mechanical Hub, PHCC as well about this AI technology. Because there are some front runners as far as software companies that are already getting started with this.
Mhm.
But to hear that Service Titan has devoted millions and millions of dollars on R&D just goes to show you like how important that is, coming
You
down
gave
the
you
pipeline.
gave you gave me goosebumps. I'm excited because we live in Service Titan, and
It all
we all.
started with Joe Rogan's podcast with Elon Musk when he was
Oh,
talking
right.
about AI. I lost it. I was like, okay, we're in for it now. But yeah, AI is one of those biggest things. I think financing is huge here. They're talking a lot about financing because we are hitting a slower period. I'll admit, our company is actually slowing down as well right now. It's very unusual times. We don't know how the economy is going to actually shift towards the end of the year.
So for the listeners,
Finance
so for the listeners, I think you meant to say shoulder season. We are getting into shoulder season. That
shorter
one.
season.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Shorter season and or a little bit of a slowdown. So not as many calls coming through. So a loss in call volume.
Mhm.
And that's typically your average homeowner, at least for me, residential service and repair. This may not go for commercial companies, but for residential service and repair, you're going to get a lot of homeowners that are saying, you know what, I can fix that toilet myself. I don't need to call a plumber.
Mhm.
So to try to save money and things like that. So I think one of the biggest things, with that is that here at Service Titan, they're really emphasizing financing for clients because if we're able to give them the opportunity and say money is tight because the economy is starting to slow down, or they're being very selective on where they spend their dollars.
Mhm.
Financing will actually go a longer way with clients to help them get approved, get them the services that they need, keep their families safe. A lot of plumbing is safety, especially gas systems. So if they're able to get it financed right then and there, I think that's a huge thing. And I think, Pantheon's really expressed that tremendously just over the single day that we've been here. So would you agree?
Yeah, with both. And it's funny because financing seems like something that seems old school to me.
Yeah.
And it's something we still have to focus on, which kind of proves that we've moved kind of slow in the trades industry. Yet we're talking about AI now, which is crazy. So we have both of those subjects,
Mhm.
one completely new, one very old school, financing, right? And I think I heard that the average American brings in $30,000 a year and has $1,000 in their bank account, right? So they need financing to get the job done on average. And with AI, I like it as an educational tool more like, just because I did talk to an AI professional a lot over this time, probably more than anybody else, picking his brain. We're going to have him on the show soon. But he was telling me that, yeah, they've pretty much disproven that AI can take a tradesman's job, right? So those jobs cannot be taken over by AI, but they can help with education, right? They could just make us better contractors, faster and more efficient. It's going to happen anyway, whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
So getting with the program is what differentiates the successful companies, right, from the ones that stay behind and die, because it's moving forward. So it's kind of like grow or die right now with the technology.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think cannot like replace like trade jobs for sure. Maybe CSR, maybe those phone calls, like, Mike, you mentioned, right? Could be, right? That like, automated phone calls, you can train AI with all those like, predefined answers. And I'm already getting phone calls from AI and I can figure out they're very smart. And but yeah, I cracked like a couple of calls. Those were amazing calls, but AI, yeah, it's doing
Optimist
good.
view on this too. I feel like the optimist view, I know we know all the cynical views on it already. The optimist view is it puts more pressure on us to perform and get smarter ourselves, right? Is to kind of outgrow AI as it's developing. And, if you're in a CSR position, if you're in any other position, it puts pressure on you to, maybe be a trainer for that, or watch those CSR systems and make sure everything's going well. Like there's a lot of other jobs that are also created that are different than what we're used to.
Yes.
But there are different types of jobs as a result of AI as well.
Yeah. I would say for sure. Yeah.
I
There's
agree.
opportunities. But I envision the movie iRobot, right? And I think of Will Smith and I think of iRobot, and I'm like, even with those iRobots, there's no way they can enter into a 12-inch crawl space. There's no way.
Right.
I mean, I've had to suck my stomach in a time or two. Yeah, they can't even grip stuff. So
no,
yes,
that's amazing.
The trades are true. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add something like for the listeners that stay up to date and join these networking events. Like these events are, I feel like I never been to any concert. I think these events are becoming bigger than concerts, where you have to make sure that you're part of it, because it's all about networking, learning new technology, financing AI, so that you can listen and go back and implement. And like other organizations like PHCC, and look at like Shreya and Joe Chris Uncle Joe doing at Service MVP. I think all the resources out there, and I think it's good to be part of it, do networking, and that's what I would say. Shreya, you want to add something to that?
No, just say, I mean, it's great to have you on as like a representation of the next generation and kind of that presidential figure. You are really a natural leader in that space. And I just like how appropriate you are and how much you respect the old school values. That's definitely my favorite part about what you're doing, because it's something I need a leader in this industry. I see you that way because I definitely relate to that. We need a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And you are impacting a lot of like, businesses. I see what you're doing, and I call it like selfless approach, and you are all into it. You're going above and beyond for the trades, and keep doing that, Mike. And it was nice to meet you in person, and nice to have you on our podcast. And definitely, a lot of our listeners going to listen and apply and connect to PSCC. And is there any platform where people can connect with you, or like what's the best way to connect with you?
I mean, absolutely. PHCC as a whole, we're on social media. So if you go on Instagram, Facebook, you search PHCC National is going to come up right away. I would start with national. PHCC.org is where you really want to start to kind of branch out to where your local states are. And then as far as I go, I'm somewhat big on social media, but I'm not super huge. But if you want to follow me, my handle is SoCal Plum Guy on Instagram, and you're more than welcome to follow me. Or if you plug in my name on Facebook, you can follow me there as well. I love posting. One of my biggest things, I love posting real world stuff. So things that are actually happening in the now. So you'll see a lot of my posts, my personal posts anyway, will come out, and they'll talk about either technologies or I'll do Instagram lives, pretty frequently, and I'll bring on social media influencers in the plumbing industry, which I absolutely love hearing from them. So if you do follow my page, you're going to hear all that stuff. You'll hear it every single week. And that's really another branch of what I try to do is I try to inform others, not just PHCC members, but inform others on, hey, here's where the industry is going. Don't hear it from me, hear it from these guys. So I'm very good about bringing people together so that we can brainstorm and ultimately make everybody's life better. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming on our show. We had a great time, and I hope listeners, you enjoyed a lot too. And we have amazing guests coming on the next episode. And stay tuned and stay well. Take care.